All right, so tonight's topic is imagination. I'll explain to you how this is a very interesting Torah concept. The Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Tzedakam Bey, says that there's an argument between the Tanna Kama and Rabbi Yehuda about whether you're allowed to give a non-kosher grasshopper to a child to play with. This is back in the day when grasshoppers were snacks, and if it was a kosher grasshopper. So Tanna Kama says you can give it to a child because it's a live grasshopper. Now, if it dies, he can eat it as a snack. It's not a problem. Because you can't give him a not kosher grasshopper to play with, even if it's alive, because if it dies, he'll eat it. And you're basically being machshel him and eating treif. Rabbi Yehuda says you're allowed to give him even a treif grasshopper to play with. Not a problem. So the Gemara asks, what about being machshel him? So Rabbi Yehuda says, no, you're not machshel him. You know why? Because if the grasshopper dies, he's going to be maspid the grasshopper. He's going to say hesped on the grasshopper. It's going to be grassy. Me and you, we could have conquered the world together. We could have been such good friends for so many years. And now look what happened. You're all smushed by mistake. He's going to be maspid. He's not going to eat him. He feels bad for him. He has demyonis. He has an imagination, this child. Kids have an amazing imagination. Rav Dessler in Michtam Eliyahu, in Chelik Aleph, in the beginning of Madar Sheni. It's page 99 in Michtam Eliyahu, in the first Chelik. He says, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter said that if you take away a toy from a child, it's like you're taking away a factory from an adult. He says if a child is playing with a toy boat, he says, he's like the captain of that boat. That's what he thinks, He's mamish thinking about himself sailing the high seas, And if you take away his boat, it's like you took and drowned the boat of an adult. So Rav Dessler is making this point in order to say, obviously that children have a very vivid imagination, but the truth is actually much more than that. He said adults have even a bigger imagination than that. And how does that manifest itself? He says that when an adult knows that mitzvos and Torah is the important thing in life, right? And he needs to have kavod in order to do Torah and mitzvos. So he says, why does he need the kavod? Because he needs people to show him that it's really worth something. So that means, he says, that the adult doesn't really believe so much in the value of Torah and mitzvos. For example, let's say Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates has, I don't know what does he have, but hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't know how much he has, right? Does he need someone to tell him that he's rich? He doesn't need someone to tell him that he's rich. He knows that he's rich, right? Hey, Mr. Gates, you're rich. He'd be like, yes, I know. Right? Well, what's the point of saying that? Right? Everybody knows that. So if somebody knows that he is constantly doing Torah and mitzvos, and he understands the value of Torah and mitzvos, why do you need outside approbation and honor for doing that? You already inherently have it.
You always need encouragement.
So there are people that need encouragement, but why do they need encouragement? That's the question. Meaning, let me ask you a question. If somebody said, listen, I have a job now, I'm going to make $1 million an hour for the next 10 hours. Do I need encouragement to do that job? No. Why? Because I clearly know that I'm making a fortune, right? So people need encouragement oftentimes when they're not really sure what they're doing is so valuable. Rav Dessler says the amount that a person needs honor to do Torah and mitzvos is exactly proportionate to his lack of appreciation of Torah and mitzvos. Now, it doesn't mean that it's usher to give somebody honor for doing Torah and mitzvos. For sure not. It's mutter for sure. We definitely do that. And we put people's names on buildings, and we definitely will definitely help somebody have honor and give them a plaque and whatever it is, But the question is, why does a person need that? I mean, if you want to honor their parents who donated a building, that's great, But why do they need their name to be on buildings and to get kavod and stuff? It's because they value the kavod more. So he says that, a person gets very into the things in this world, even though they really, as a Torah Jew, know that's not what's important. People who are very wealthy, right? Because oftentimes they have, friends who are just there because they're wealthy. They're not friends with, them. They're friends with their money, basically. All right? That's what they're interested in. So he said, and these people, a lot of them even know that. These wealthy people, they know a lot of them that their friends are friends because of their money, and yet they keep on playing the game. Why? Because their imagination tells them that, let's pretend that I have friends. Real friends. The story of somebody whose wife once picked up on this, that, became very wealthy, all of a sudden he had a lot of friends. So she said, you know what, they're here just for your money. And she's like, no, what do you mean? They're good people. She said, listen, let's just tell everybody that you're bankrupt to see what happens. So they told everybody that he's bankrupt. They didn't come to his house anymore. Besides the same friend that used to come when he wasn't in money, So people like to have demyonis, right? They like to get the fast cars and the big houses, and they all know, if they're from Jews, that they can't take it with them, right? They all know, if they're from Jews, that learning Torah for an hour is worth much more than that, right? But they kind of like to fool themselves and put themselves in their toys of, again, cars, yachts, whatever fancy stuff they like to be into, because they don't want to really face, right, what life is all about. When someone is very into Torah, and they realize Talmud Torah Connect Kulam, you realize the value of Torah. So you don't give value to all these external things. Very famous story with Rav Steinman. How a rich person came to Rav Steinman and said, he's scared of Ayin Hara. So Steinman said, why? He said, I'm very wealthy and I have so much money. And I have nice houses and cars and people are jealous of me. And Steinman said, do you know Shas? He said, no. He said, do you know half of Shas? He said, no. He said, so how would people be jealous of you? Like, what do you have? You know what I mean? Like, you want to drive your Tesla into the kever? Like, what's the point? Like, what's the point? You can go fast, you can accelerate very fast all of a sudden. Like, what are you emphasizing in life? You know what I mean? It's like, do we believe Talmud Torah Connected Kulam? If we do, then we should keep learning Torah, right? Because that's what's wealthy. I'll tell you the truth. It's sort of a personal story. I'll say anything to tell us, I'll say it. Right? Is that when I was younger, and I was getting married, so I was supposed to go to law school. I was accepted to law school already. And my wife said, you're always good at learning. Why don't you try to, learn in Kol for a year and see what, try it out. So I said, okay. And I tried it. Baruch Hashem, I'm still here, 29 years later. But really, in the beginning, I made a very selfish cheshbon. I'll tell you the truth, to be honest. I said, listen, why do I want to be a lawyer? Because I want to have a fancy house, I want to have nice cars, I want to have a swimming pool, So I said, okay, how long is that going to be for? 80 years, if I'm lucky, let's say, right? And what about Olam Haba? That is eternity, right? Do you know how long eternity is? Right? There's a famous mashal, they say from the Chafetz Chaim, it could be anybody, that if the entire world was grains of sand, and a bird came, and every 10,000 years, he would take one grain of sand and transport it to a different planet. Every 10,000 years, one grain of sand, then eternity would still be just getting started after the entire world was transported. That's a long time. So I was thinking to myself, listen, I could either go for the fancy house and swimming pool and Tesla and stuff, back when there wasn't Tesla, right? Porsche, whatever it was, for 80 years, right? For 80 years, or I could try to get eternity. And investing in eternity, Talmud Torah Kegum, every word of Torah you say is a massive mitzvah, and doing that every day for 8 hours, I'd rather have that great house in Olam Haba for eternity than have a house in this world for 80 years. It was just a very simple, selfish cheshbon. All right? I mean, hopefully I got a little shema in eventually too. Right? But it's just one of these things, if you know this, so why? Why wouldn't you sit and learn? Why wouldn't you? You know, the Chazon Ish in Emunah B'tachon, towards the end of the Sefer, he says, he knows of some people that they're embarrassed with their friends. If they start sitting and learning all day, friends will be like, oh, you became a frummy, you became a frum guy, you're now just learning Torah all day. And he said, chaval for this person, if he'd have a little bit of chutzpah, he would have such a great Olam Haba. Yeah, just a little bit of chutzpah to be able to tell his friends, I don't care what you think, I want to serve Hashem. His Olam Haba will be so much greater. So we really have to try to understand, try to, not get carried away by the imaginary trappings of Gashmias of this world, and try to focus the main part of our day, on Ruchnias. And, if a person has to work, they can have kavanah to do the mitzvah parnasa. Mitzvah parnasa is also a mitzvah. A lot of people, when they're working or doing chesed with other people, have in mind the mitzvah of chesed. There's a lot of mitzvahs a person can do in his work day too. But when he doesn't have to work, the more he can maximize learning Torah, that's a tremendous savings plan for, like I said, eternity. It's a very long time eternity. You want to have a savings plan. People have retirement plans all the time in this world, right? Retirement plans, yeah, makes sense. You got to think about retirement. You got to plan. You got to save away money, right? But what about Olam Haba? Like eternal savings plan, right? The most important one. You got to make sure that you don't neglect that. So, Bez Hashem, we should be zochet to keep on doing a lot of Torah mitzvos, a lot of Ma'asim Tovim, and focus on what's real in this world and not get carried away by our imagination.